So let's talk about CRISPR, okay? Because CRISPR just changed everything, and once again, no one noticed. Almost nobody noticed. I don't understand how these things don't get talked about more. It really boggles my mind. But that, of course, is why I'm here. So, basically, on the morning of April 27th, okay, 2026, a small little biotech company in Cambridge, Massachusetts, quietly released a set of numbers that will end up in biology textbooks for like the next 50 years. Okay? No fanfare, okay, no viral moment, okay, just some of the stuff that is groundbreaking for humans, and like it goes past all the news. And then, like I said, we'll go over the article. I won't read it because, I mean, obviously, this article, ooh, man, it is filled with words that I can barely comprehend. But we're going to get basically through it and sum it up a lot faster than reading it, anyways. All right. So today we're breaking down exactly what happened and why it matters not just for medicine, but for every human being alive right now, and why this might be the most important story that most people completely miss this week. Welcome back. You know, if you're here, we cover the most positive things we can going on in human society to make sure you guys have something positive to look forward to in the future. Or just, you know, if you're having a bad day, you can just remember, oh, at least in my lifetime, we'll have blah, blah, blah. You know, like, it might help a little bit. It might help a little bit. Let's get into it. So, what exactly happened? All right, so a company called Intellia Therapeutics just published the world's first ever phase 3 clinical trial results for a in vivo CRISPR gene editing therapy. All right, so CRISPR specifically stands for Clustered Regulatory Interspaced Short Palindromic Repeats. And it's a revolutionary gene editing technology that allows scientists to precisely edit, add, and remove DNA sequences within living organisms. Like I said, this is amazing, far future stuff. You know, it's, like I said, we'll get into it. Now, phase 3 is the final and most rigorous stage of human clinical trials, okay? We've been watching all the movies and say, phase 3 clinical trials. Once we get past those, we can create the superhumans or the zombies or, you know, let out the disease, you know, whatever it is. Once you get past phase 3, you're good to go, okay? So, and it's the most rigorous stage of human clinical trials. That way you guys can see the article. So I'm getting the article from Forbes.com. CRISPR breakthrough brings first in-body cure with Lonvo V. And like I said, I'm just going to basically be summing up this video because as you can see, this is really hard to pronounce words in here. Really clinical, scientific-y, abbreviation-y, you know, Bradican. You know, I don't want to already make myself look as bad as I have in regards to reading articles. So yeah, we're just gonna do that and then just sum it up. All right, so as we mentioned, phase 3 clinical trials is where you find out definitely, all right, whether a drug works in large diverse groups of real patients. All right, many different people among many different age groups, among many different genetic backgrounds. Most drugs that enter phase 3 fail, okay, just because of all the different, like I said, genetics of people, the different ages, whether they're, you know, tall, short, fat, healthy, have previous issues, all that stuff matters in phase 3, which is why most drugs don't make it. The ones that succeed, though, move toward FDA approval, okay? That's when the FDA looks over everything and says, okay, well, based off the information you gave, we can go ahead and prove this for public use. Now, in vivo means inside a living body. That's what that means, okay? The editing happened inside actual human beings. No cells removed, no lab manipulation, no chemotherapy prep, just an infusion, and then CRISPR went to work. Simple as that, and in therapy. It's like Star Trek with the hypo spray. You know what I mean? You're over here curing complex diseases with just a ding. You know what I mean? The therapy is called Lonvogurin Zculimarin. Lonvo Z for short, okay? So I'm just gonna start saying Lonvo Z. And it targets a rare but serious genetic disease called hereditary angioedema, or HEA, or HAE. HAE causes the body to overproduce a protein that triggers sudden, unpredictable swelling attacks. These attacks can hit the face, the abdomen, or more dangerously, the upper airway. When they block the airway, they can be fatal. Until now, patients have managed this disease by taking medications every few weeks for the rest of their lives, or with rescue drugs always nearby just in case they have a serious incident. Lonvo Z offers something completely and utterly different. Here are the numbers from the trials, all right? And I want you to really hear these because they're just extraordinary. All right, and like I said, this is the future. Like I said, just like Star Trek. I don't know if you guys see Star Trek, but most things in Star Trek are done with just a simple hypo spray. Boom, you're good to go. Bye-bye. You've just been cured of 9 different cancers, 12 different STDs, all in 2 seconds. All right, we're starting to get there, basically, more or less. A single one-time infusion of Lonvo Z reduced HAE attacks by 87% compared to placebo over 6-month evaluation period. 62% of patients had 0 attacks, none. They required no additional medication whatsoever. 100% of patients in the treatment group saw some reduction in attacks. Not most patients, every single one. The trial met its primary endpoint and every key secondary endpoint as well, with statistical significance and p less than 0.0001. For non-scientists, that means the probability that these results happen by chance is essentially 0, okay? Very good, very good. And there was no serious adverse events as well. This is not a modest improvement on existing treatment. This is a clean sweep in a rigorous clinical trial for a one-time cure. One time, okay? No more chemo, you know what I mean? No more like going through, months and weeks, or years of just a horrible, miserable existence. This is great news. So how does it work exactly? Lonvo Z uses CRISPR-Cas9, the gene editing technology that won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2020, to permanently inactivate a specific gene in a patient's liver cells. The gene is called KLKB1. It's responsible for producing an enzyme called kallikrein, which is what triggers the bradykinin overproduction that causes HAE attacks in the first place. Switch off that gene permanently, and the entire cascade that causes those swelling attacks stops at its source. All right, this is literally nipping it in the bud, cutting out at its root. It's hard to get a debilitating disease if you cut out the gene permanently from your DNA. Simple. It's like I said, it's awesome. I personally have a genetic problem that I'd love to get the gene, rip it out of my system, and throw it away, especially because I don't want it to pass on to my children. Not that I have any, but when I do, it won't be ideal to know that that potential thing can happen. So I personally am invested in this because there's something in my blood that I want to take out so that it doesn't hurt my children and my family in the future. I think that's why this is so cool. That's why. All right, so like I said, it switches off that gene permanently and the entire cascade of issues goes away at the root. Now, delivery is where the engineering genius really comes in, okay? CRISPR tools can't be injected into the bloodstream on their own. They need a vehicle. So Intellia packages them inside what are called lipid nanoparticles, okay? These are awesome. The concept itself is exactly how it sounds. Nanoparticles. We are there, people. Guess what they are? They're microscopic bubbles made of fat that can just go right into your bloodstream. You don't have to worry about your immune system attacking them because they're your family. They travel through the bloodstream, find their way to the liver cells, and deliver the CRISPR payload directly inside of them. Okay, the lipid nanoparticle is the truck, CRISPR is the cargo. The destination is one specific gene and one specific organ. One infusion, one outpatient visit, the root cause of the disease, in the future really serious bad diseases, edited in place inside a human body, cured right there. Right there. It's actually doing mechanical work inside you while you're alive, moving around. Okay? You don't have to be in a coma or be, sedated or anything. Ah, man. Why is this a historic moment, basically? To understand why this is such a milestone, like I said, let's back up a little bit. So CRISPR has been one of the most hyped technologies in science for about 15 years. Okay, the promise has always been the same though. Find the genetic error causing disease, go fix it where it lives, and let the body do the rest. In December 2023, the FDA approved the very first commercial CRISPR therapy, a treatment called Casgevy, developed by CRISPR Therapeutics and Vertex Pharmaceuticals. That was a genuine breakthrough, but Casgevy works ex vivo, meaning doctors have to extract a patient's bone marrow stem, edit them in a laboratory, and then reinfuse them after the patient goes through chemotherapy. Like I said, vivo means extremely invasive bone marrow, infusions and stuff like that. Extremely painful. So many things can go wrong. But like I said, it's a mess. So it's gene editing, but outside the body. Lonvo Z is different. Like I said, this is the first CRISPR therapy to reach phase 3 by editing genes directly inside the human body. Okay, that's what's important about it. No cells removed, no chemotherapy, just an infusion. And CRISPR does its work in place. Like, you don't have to go far. You don't have to travel to some fancy, advanced, laboratory. Bam, ship it to you. This is the scientific barrier that just failed. The technology that worked here, okay, lipid nanoparticles, delivery of CRISPR to silence a specific gene in liver cells, it can be done across so many areas. Like I say, it's the same foundation technology that hundreds of other programs across the biotech industry are now building on. They now have seen the clinical trials work, and now all of them want to make something to where I want to cure this with a shot, cut out so much other stuff. Like I said, they'll be able to charge a lot for it, but not as much as years of chemo. You know what I mean? It's going to be awesome. So now, what comes next, basically? That's more or less the gist of the amazing breakthrough we've just went through. Intellia itself already has a follow-up program called NextZ, which targets a disease called transthyretin amyloidosis. Woo! I don't know about that one. A condition that affects an estimated 250,000 to 500,000 patients globally, up from 50,000. Like I said, they're trying to up the ante and cure these huge, big diseases. That's the good stuff right there. Okay, that's basically, it's just a form of heart disease. The phase 3 trial for that program is already underway with 1,200 patients enrolled. So they're doing trials for heart disease right now. Trials to cure heart disease, say a genetic issue right now. Okay, we are there to the age of Star Trek. Like I said, with the hypo craze, we are there. CRISPR Therapeutics is advancing in vivo programs that target cardiovascular disease, specifically designed to durably lower cholesterol with a single dose. Imagine replacing a daily, statin with one infusion, like a daily pill, or a lifelong pill with just one infusion, just one injection. Now, Beam Therapeutics is running pivotal trials on a related technology called base editing, with results expected in late 2026. Verve Therapeutics is targeting cardiovascular gene editing in even larger patient populations as well. The pieces of this platform that needed to be proven is, can CRISPR reach the right cells? Can it make precise edits? Does the edit last long enough to produce real clinical benefit? Can it pass a rigorous phase 3 trial? And those questions now all have answers. The answer to all of them is yes. That's what's so pivotal and monumental about this. The frontier has literally moved. Okay, the goalpost has moved. We are no longer asking whether in vivo gene editing works in humans. We are asking which diseases will transform and how fast. All right. So the bigger picture, all right, there's usually a way to think about what happens on April 27th. Now, some scientific breakthroughs are like crossing a finish line, like the race ends, we did it, woohoo, like penicillin, we crossed the finish line, we got penicillin, all right, sweet. The result is in, everything's settled. Other breakthroughs like this, okay, are like reaching base camp on a mountain, all right? The hardest part is now possible, okay? We've already climbed it. The summit is still ahead, granted, but most the important question is, can the climb even begin? It's been answered. We can now start beginning a climb from horrible diseases up to straight up one-shot cures. All right, the FDA approval of Lonvo Z expected in the first half of 2027 will be the next step. All right, the approval that follows, all right, for heart disease, for other genetic conditions, eventually perhaps for diseases we haven't even yet connected their genes to, those will be, up for debate as well. Those will be the ascent. Because like I said, once it stops there, what's the limit? Once we can tie any disease back to your gene, okay, that puts into, the question of, can we solve this using this new CRISPR technology? So we are watching in real time the opening chapter of a new era in medicine, okay, for real. One where a disease isn't just managed, it's corrected from the root, all right? Where a single visit to the clinic doesn't start a treatment plan, it ends the disease. It ends the whole shebang genetically for the rest of your family right there. Okay, think of any disease that's been passed on generation to generation. This ends it permanently with the shot, one visit, boom, rest of your life. And like I said, I have a genetic disease that I don't plan on passing to. Well, I don't plan. That I'd rather not pass on, but if this happens in my lifetime, this is something that I am absolutely going to consider. So, man, like I said, just good news all around. Like I said, there was no parade. There was no breaking news banner. It was just a group of scientists, a set of clinical trial data, and a result that proves something humanity has been working toward for decades. Like I said, there's no celebration of this stuff. There's no talking about this kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that goes under the radar. I'll never understand it. I'll never get it. That's why I want to talk about it. That's why I feel obligated to talk about it at this point. All right, so to wrap things up, like I said, the gene editing era started quietly on Monday morning in April. You know what I mean? Like no parade, no breaking news banner, just a group of scientists. A set of clinical trial data and a result that proved something humanity has been working towards for decades. The science is no longer the bet. The science works. We no longer have to bet against it. We now have it that it works, and now we can apply it to so many things. Okay, and by that I mean phase 3 human clinical trials in regards to Viva. So what happens next is all up to us. Patients, doctors, regulators, and the companies racing to bridge these therapies to the people who need them. I mean, like I said, if you like I said, okay, I'm gonna stop right there. I'm already trying to. I should wrap videos up faster. So basically, if you found this video valuable, please share it. This is the kind of story that deserves more attention than it got. Like I said, drop a comment below, what you think about disease, what you think is, if you think this is a good thing, a bad thing, a positive thing for humans as a whole, what you think the future of CRISPR is, and subscribe if you want to follow some more stories like this. I want to bring as many positive, big stories like this as I possibly can, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.